Hello and welcome to the teacher preview video for Cinderfella. This is a story that is a version of Cinderella, but it changes the main character to a boy. So it's fun and exciting and little quirks in there that'll make your students laugh. But in this resource, there are a few different things for you. There's your Google Slides activity, which I'll show you in a little bit. The Cinderfella answer key that goes with the activity. And then the Cinderfella story, both in Google Docs and a PDF for easy printing. Also in terms of use if you need to know what you may and may not do. So I'll go ahead and open up the Cinderfella activity. This is all stored on Google Slides. And for all of my Google Slides activities, I do include a direction video for the students to watch. All they have to do is click play, and then they can listen to me tell my directions.
In this Google Slides activity, we're going to be looking at the story Cinderfella. Cinderfella is another version of the story Cinderella.
So there's just 4 minutes of me explaining what's about to happen, what they need to be doing, and the expectations. So on the first 10 slides is the story of Cinderfella. And if you'll notice, there is a black speaker button here in the corner. That is actually an audio clip of me reading the slide to them. So I'll just show you what that does. They just hover over here and click play.
Once upon a time, there was a farm boy named Fella. He had brown eyes, buck teeth, and crazy hair.
So it just reads the whole slide to them if they're not ready to read it on their own or if they're having trouble with some of the words. It is on every slide, so it's easy access for them as they're continuing on through the story. There's also an option for them to read it on Google Docs. Maybe they would like to see it on one page and they don't want to get it split up over a whole bunch of different slides. So all they do is they click on this link and then they click on Cinderfella Story. And it'll open in a new tab for them, and then they can read it here in Google Docs. You can also print out this story and give them a hard copy if you'd like to, but this is all digital as well. There is also some speaker buttons down here for them to listen to the story read to them, and you can actually play this on this tab while having the Cinderfella story up on a different tab. So all they would do is click play for part 1.
Once upon a time, there was a farm boy named Fella. He had brown eyes, buck teeth, and crazy hair. Every morning, Fella's donkey would bray to get him out of bed.
And then they'd follow along on the other tab. Now, my audio was too long to put into one part here on the Google Slides, so I just split it up into 2 parts. So once this one hits the end, then they just go to part 2 to listen to the next part. Then down below there are 20 slides that deal with character setting and plot. It's just asking some questions and having them interact to tell the answers. So we have some typing here. They're going to tell the main characters and the supporting characters. All they need to do is double click and then they can type using their keyboard. If you were Fella's dad, what would you have done? So just an advice slide. For this one, they're going to be moving this oval to the correct answer. So they're going to read the question and then they just click and drag this to circle the correct picture. We talk about character traits here for Fella. So they're just going to click and drag the question, or not the question mark, the check mark to which ones they believe Fella is. Another click and drag for the circle to find all the places in the story that are the setting. And there's multiple circles here so they can find all of them. This is just a comprehension question. They just pull the check mark next to which one they want to select. This one is a compare and contrast between Cinderfella and Cinderella. So I'm asking them to give 2 differences and then 2 similarities. Another comprehension question. These are my favorite. These are extending arrows. So they're going to be telling where these things happen. So we're dealing with the setting. And all they need to do is extend the arrows. And they find this really fun to do because it's colorful and they get to manipulate something that they don't usually get to do on the computer. So I'll show you how this works. All they do is they click the arrow and then they make sure that the mouse turns into a T. And then they can click and drag it to extend it. and then they can answer all the questions. Like that. So it's pretty cool. Another comprehension question here, talking about what Granny made Fella do. Here we're talking about who the 4 people were that lived in the farmhouse. So again, they just click and type here. And everything else on the slide is anchored, so like they can't move the title, they can't move the pictures. All they can do is interact with what they're supposed to. Here are character traits for Granny, advice for Fella, how to deal with Granny, a circle for the tools, so which tools he found, another comprehension, putting events in order, so these are movable over here, they just move them to which sentence comes first, second, third, etc. Another comprehension question. A long answer question. This is true and false with the arrows again. So same thing, they just extend the arrows to either true or false. And then finally, a last comprehension question. And you can also split this up into multiple days if you don't want your kids to do all 20, which I totally understand. If you want to do like a whole week study on this, maybe you can print out the story on the Google Docs and send it home with them so they can read it at home, or you could send this digitally so they can read it multiple times over and over again, and then you can split up the slides over here into multiple presentations. But if you need any help with that, you can let me know and I can show you a video that I made for that as well. But if you have any questions, let me know. My email is on my teacher store.